Alrighty. Yep, we are live. Have been for 10 seconds. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the shit show. Okay, so some explanations are in order. Let's just be honest on that one. So, for those of you that keep up with me on Twitter, there was some issues going on with my computer. I did not know that they were going to be as serious as they were. And then it turned into a problem with the fact that, so I went on and I tried to play a game on Steam. No, I'm not switching sides. I was wanting to play the game to have a discussion for today, for what was supposed to be last week's show, but it's now going to be a conversation for tonight. So to put it out there simply, in the middle of playing this demo, my computer heat soaked, locked up, shut down. Like, I mean, it was as if somebody pulled the power cord from it. And so instantly went out to a friend of mine who is an absolute insane badass when it comes to hardware. And he came over, took a look at everything, and he even brought this app on his phone, which is a wattage calculator, and checked everything out on my computer and determined that we needed to pull the cooler off of the CPU and redo the thermal paste. One of the joys of PC gaming. And then also in doing his wattage calculator thing, he was able to find out that they put a bronze power supply in the bottom of the computer that didn't have the proper wattage for the 2700X, which is a CPU. And so he basically came over to my house, brought with him a 2080. I went from an AMD RX 580 to an NVIDIA 2080. He put a bigger power supply in it, but it only classifies as a silver. And he also put more RAM into the computer. Well, faster RAM compared to the older RAM, which I actually have right here on camera. I have RAM still. Like, I'm official. I've got RAM sticks laying on my desk. But yeah, but one of the shitty parts is, guys, is buy your computers from reputable people at this point, because what really screwed everything up is when we went to take the cooler off of the CPU, we found out that the person who had built my computer in the first place had snapped the lever off of the cooler. And so there was no way to reattach the cooler once we got it off. By some sheer act of luck, this guy had a cooler in his closet at home, the exact same one, because he had a 2700X at one time, and he's like, I still got the cooler for it. And so we drove to his house just to go get the cooler. And what was promised to my wife as a 1-hour ordeal turned into easily a 6-hour open heart surgery on my computer. And yeah, it was funny as hell. We were just documenting the whole thing on Twitter, and we're still kind of ironing out some of the kinks right now as we speak. I had some monitor issues, and now my computer is constantly running updates without warning. So hopefully tonight's show does not go out without any hitches. It was because of the updates is why we're starting essentially a half hour late. But enough of my woes and BS. Let's have some fun tonight. We've got some great conversations. Game Pass is what the thumbnail says. It's a little bit of a roller coaster ride this month already. We've had already some highs. We've already had some lows, and we're going to discuss them all. But before we get into all that fun stuff, Mickey, how you been, buddy? What you been playing?
Doing pretty good tonight, Philly. And I have actually been playing. I started back up on Jedi Fallen Order. So I've been playing that, and then obviously I've played some NBA 2K24 on the side. but I'm trying to get through Jedi Fallen Order, and my wife was making fun of me because I have a serious issue with not finishing games. So she was laughing at me, and I was like, well, that kind of hurts my feelings.
Remind me, you know what? I'm going to take it a step further. You complete that damn game, I'm going to show up at your house with a cake. It's going to be like, I'm going to have them like, can you just write "you did it" on the top?
It's true. It's true. I have issues, but this game is amazing. So I'm gonna try to beat it so I can get the new one, because I'm not gonna get the new one until I beat this one, but we'll see. I'm gonna do my best.
The Jedi Fallen Order games, or the EA Jedi games, you had Fallen Order and you had Jedi Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely amazing games.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the hell out of them. I day one, and let's just put it this way. I don't have issues completing games. I have issues with like ADHD, and I'm going to say it right now. If your game does not like hit whatever serotonin release I'm looking for, I'll end up like ADDing it off on a different game.
I can agree with that.
But for me, I will say, at least since we have talked since the last show, like I told everybody, I had just started Gears of War, the first game. I have burned through Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. I am actually on Gears of War Judgment. That's a little bit of a... I could see why people... I have always wondered why Gears of War Judgment was like on people's shit list. I now know why. They obviously, for me, it was the change up of the gameplay. And what's insane is, you remember the original Gears of War games, Mickey. I know you played the first one at least.
Yep.
This one in Gears of War Judgment, it's like they're telling a story. And as they're telling the story, you have either an easier version of the mission you're about to play. And now keep in mind, every part of the game is like stages. And you could do these stages as either in an easy sense that goes like an easy, like it's not part of the official story. It's just, this is the easy way to play. Or you could play what is known as the confidential way, where you gotta make the game go into these modes where, like, as an example, you could either go in with all your favorite weapons, or you could go and you'll find the little symbol and it turns on, and it's like, hey, the confidential version of this mission is you could only find shotguns to play this, to do this part of the mission, or you guys were running very low on ammo. It has all the, or you fight more enemies, or the enemies have way more aggressive tactics or better weapons than you, and it changes up their narration of the story. And I thought that was cool because it does force you to play with different weapons, because like at this point, playing the original game, it was, mostly the Lancer and the stub pistol, and I would just barely play with anything else. Those were like the two main guns that I were just like hopelessly addicted to. So Judgment, because of that one gameplay mechanic, really made it different. But what kind of made it a little silly was, now you have these stars, and the way you play the game and the way you play the mission or the stage, you accumulate up. You can either three star the mission, and as you play these missions, you accumulate more and more stars. And the whole purpose of this is you need, I think it was like 40 or 50 stars to unlock a part of the game that was like DLC or something. So I'm just like, wow, that's kind of messed up. So you gotta kind of like earn to play that part of the game.
Oh, I see.
And so I could it was that change up of the game mechanic where I was like, okay. But in playing the original Gears games, I have found a new fondness for the Gears 4 and Gears 5. Because at least I miss some of the details in Gears 4 and Gears 5. I'm having a lot of, like, I do miss picking up think about it. In the past 2 weeks, I was able to grind out 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes miss games that were just like a little bit shorter, not these huge, like, I hope you didn't want to play anything else for the rest of the year, kind of like grindathon. So, but all right, let's get into it, Mickey. We all know the topics, and tonight, do we want to start off with like one of the ones that people are not exactly too excited about? And that way, let's get the kind of bad news out of the way. And like, to me, it's not even bad news. It's regretful. Is it bad news, or is it the fact that I'm just used to and understand that I accept this is what happens with this style of game? Is it right? No. Do I wish it would happen? No. But I guess it's something I've gotten so used to that now, let's just get into it. So for those that have been living under a rock, don't realize it yet, I'm pretty sure you've heard by now that Forza Horizon 4 is going to be delisted from all digital stores on December 15th of this year. And that decision means that the game and its additional content will no longer be available for purchase on either the Microsoft Store, the Xbox Store, the Steam Store, all digital stores.
Now, from what I read, they said that they've already canceled the DLC, but you can still purchase the base game.
Right. So, in preparation for the delisting, Playground Games shared a little bit of a roadmap for Horizon 4. The final series will begin July 25th and end on August 22nd. Post August 22nd, the playlist screen will be inaccessible, though fans can still access the Forza event screen and participate in daily and weekly challenges to earn Forzathon points. But as Mickey just pointed out, the DLC delisting starting today, the game's DLC will be delisted, leaving only the standard, deluxe, and ultimate versions available for purchase. So that means if you want the DLC, you're going to have to buy that ultimate edition.
Now, another thing too that I saw, sorry, Phil, not to interrupt.
No, jump in, man. This is yours.
They've got the versions really discounted right now, apparently. So you can get like the ultimate version. I think it said for like $20.
Right.
So like they've got them really discounted. So
one of the articles that I pulled information said that the Xbox Store was going to start running a sale starting July 14th, but they might have already started doing that early. But that also being said, from what I've seen on social media and what I've read from a couple other places, is if you bought what looks like when Forza Horizon 4 was originally released in Game Pass, there was a Ultimate Edition upgrade that you were able to purchase, which did not mean you owned the game. You owned the DLC. If you bought that package when the game first came out, it looks like Xbox is giving you the base game for free.
For free, yeah, I saw that too.
So, this is where it sucks that this is happening. In my defense, I know that this shit happens because it is what it is. It is shit. I actually bought my Ultimate Edition for half price like years ago. And I'm going to be upfront. Like, I do it all the time. I actually own Horizon 5 as well. I bought it half price. I generally wait until, because the upgrades are generally like 45, $50, and the ultimate edition will eventually get down to $50, and I'm just like, you know what? When it hits $50, I'll buy it. I do it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I played Horizon 4. I played the shit out of that game. I had a lot of fun playing it. Very, very unique environment being over in England. It just sucks that this happens because, like, at this point we're all, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. And I say that because we all want to drive our Aston Martins, our Maseratis, our Ford Mustangs, our Camaros, whatever vehicle, what have you. We have a lot of fun playing these games. And now we're starting to realize that it is a little bit of a double-edged sword, because why? Well, let's face it, the car companies look like they actually do have a little bit more pull on this game than we would like. And it seems like a lot of the delisting for this game stems a little bit around the licensing for the cars, and and from what I've also read and heard, the licensing for the music. So as much as we love playing these games, this is the double-edged sword, is these games, you know, everybody wants digital preservation. I'm one of those that are hugely about digital preservation. You can ask Mickey, you come over here, I've got Xbox 360 games, I've got actually original Xbox games. I have a huge physical media collection, but I have no problem buying games digitally. I actually enjoy buying games digitally. I will not buy into the farce, though, of owning movies digitally. Screw that. But that being said, though, I want Microsoft to continue making these games. They're fun. The Forza franchise is what got me back into playing racing games. I remember, like, I remember I had friends back in the day that were hugely up on like games like Gran Turismo, and
I remember Gran Turismo.
Right. And I even, the sad part is I actually have a number of like Need for Speed style games that are in the back, that are like some of the EA stuff. I even like The Crew was actually a fun game. But what really got me back into playing racing games, because I got burned out on the Gran Turismo thing, and it had nothing to do with PlayStation. I think it was just because the friends that I had just would act like that those were their real cars, and people would just take things too far, and it was immaturely stupid. And then I started I still remember I picked up Forza Horizon 3 going, am I going to like this, or is it just going to be like a meh? And the rest is history. I've been playing Forza now since about Forza Motorsport 6, Forza Horizon 3, Forza Motorsport 7. I need to play the current Motorsport, but I'm more of a Horizon guy now. I have figured that out. But it just really stinks that, you know, as we could see, when it comes to the actual concept of game preservation, the sheer hurdles that these companies have to go through to make these games, and that we're slowly discovering that, you know, the car companies don't want these games to last forever. The music licensing doesn't want these games to last forever. And that's where, at least, I mean, if you own a game physically, there you go. But digitally, I mean, if stock up now, that's all I can really say. And let's hear your input on it.
It's the games that have real life components to them, like the car games that actually have the actual car manufacturers linked to them, or, you know, like the NFL games or NBA games, because they could technically just be like, well, you know, I just don't want you using those licenses anymore, and, you know, pull them out from under the, you know, these companies, and, you know, it sucks, but like you said, it's that's kind of something that you have to look out for, because it's the possibility like this. And see, I never really was really into the Forza games. I heard that they're really popular because I'm not really a big racing guy, but I do it occasionally. But my game is the OG Need for Speed Most Wanted. That was my racing game. And that game actually was the game that I enjoyed and I loved a bunch on the 360. But I heard a lot of good things about Forza 4, actually, the Forza Horizon 4, mostly because people said it was really popular, and Forza 3 too. So it is sad that it's going away, but unfortunately it is what it is. There's not really a whole lot we can do about it, but I might actually try to pick it up too, just to have it, and play it, just to have a racing game, on deck. So yeah, it's sad, but it's unfortunate. It happens, so get it while you can, especially at the price that it's at.
Oh,
so.
yeah, dude. I mean, it's a fun game and there's a lot there. Like, I mean, for me, it was playing the different, God, they have these modes where you can have your own little taxi service and you got to get people to certain destinations. There was other modes where you played as a delivery driver. It was more than just driving around and racing. There was actually some story behind it. They even had Top Gear, the British, like the British based car enthusiast stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that. Okay.
There's some it's like you're helping film a season of Top Gear. And you get to play all these different, drive all these different vehicles, and like you're filming like a couple episodes of Top Gear. I actually had an absolute joy playing it. And then with that DLC, you have Treasure Island. Treasure Island is literally just driving around and doing small races, but the main thing was to find these like caches of pirate treasure that were worth a lot of money to help you buy other cars. So it's like an area to really help you make money. But the one was the Lego expansion. That Lego expansion is absolute freaking fun. You see all different sorts of Legos that, nostalgically from growing up as a kid, at least for me. And the whole object is you play and you earn more bricks. You get to build your like Lego mansion just bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's a lot there, and it's a lot. And like, it's more like, let's face it. So we all know my cat recently passed away, and Forza was one of those games where it didn't require you to do any thinking or decision making. It was just sit there, put on a radio station you preferred to listen to the music, and just drive around and experience the game. And it was one of those games where it was almost like a zen to just playing it. Like, it was a game you could relax. Not too many games. Mm-hmm. Like, Mickey, can you relax and play Jedi Fallen Order? Do you relax playing Jedi Fallen Order?
So when I play games, it is relaxing. But when you're into the game, it's not always relaxing.
Especially something like Jedi Fallen Order, where, at least for me, I played it on medium difficulty, and I remembered there was a part in that game I wanted to like put a controller through a wall.
You remember the first planet you land on, where you have to go up to that temple, but there's that beast that's underground. It's the Uba Gooba or something like that.
God, I haven't played that game in so long, I'd barely remember it, but I should play it again.
Well, it's like an upgraded version of the one when you slide down after you leave the temple, and it pops out of the water and you beat it. It's like an upgraded version of that, and that thing kicked my ass over and over and over and over. I hit it to get my stuff back, and I just ran out of there because I was getting so mad.
You ran into one of the mini bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Wait till you get to Dathomir.
That's where I'm at now. Actually,
Yeah, the planet of Maul. Oh, dude.
I'm gonna go get that lightsaber.
You could get the lightsaber. It's the main guy on Dathomir that's a real a-hole.
Well, I'm gonna. I'll probably try to stay away from that.
Like
That for right now.
dude. I went to Dathomir to get my lightsaber, and then I left the planet, and that's when I realized I had to start upgrading my health, how many health packs I could have. I had to go through and build my character up because that dude on Dathomir was literally Gandalf. You shall not fucking pass.
Well, I can't wait to fight him.
But all right. Mari, thank you for joining the show tonight and the discussion. Physical media is worthless if the game relies on servers. For example, the crew won digitally or physically because Ubisoft. Yeah, no, I'm actually right there with you. And that's one of those things like, did Ubisoft shut the game down like a bunch of a-holes because they just didn't want to pay for server upkeep? Or was there like some licensing with some of the cars? I'm more along the lines of think they shut that game down because they wanted to like save money, and that game got shut down because they didn't want to pay upkeep on the servers. And that's where I'm a huge proponent of I just feel certain games should have an offline mode, like, because if anything like that ever happens, yeah, you lose the game. And I enjoyed the crew. The crew was almost like let's face it, it was like the Fast and the Furious franchise is not no award-winning writing. They're just a really good action-based film franchise that's really fun, and at times it can get very cheesy and very outlandish in what takes place. And I felt that exact same way with the crew. It was a fun game. It had a decent story behind it. Yeah, there was times of cheesiness. There was times of outlandish stuff, but I had an absolute blast playing it. And if you really want to throw some like nostalgia on it, Mari, to me, the game reminded me of Cruising the USA. If anybody remembers that racing game back in the day, where you'd have to go to the arcade and play in the damn seat with the steering wheel, Cruising in the USA, it kind of reminded me of that. Because, dude, the crew, you start off in like the central United States, and then you get to like go into like New York, Florida, Chicago, Las Vegas. I think they even send you down in the deserts of Texas and New Mexico. You have LA, Hollywood. They even had you racing up in Washington. Dude, it took you literally all over the United States. It was actually a very unique game, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Hey, what's up, Yobi? Thank you for joining us. Yes, let's go. All right. Now, let's kind of switch gears. We've been talking about Forza, no pun intended, but yeah, let's switch some gears, and let's really talk about real quick games that are coming to Game Pass. Let's start with one that everybody has been kind of frothing at the mouth a little bit over. We've all seen it happen. Like, I'm trying to find my damn notes. I have too many freaking notes. Okay, here it is. For months now, we've been seeing all these would-be individuals that claim Xbox is a bunch of idiots that don't know how to manage a company. They bought Activision to do nothing with it. We've had the selfish individuals that feel that Game Pass doesn't have enough games, and they want the Activision library of games just shadow dropped in overnight. And now we've seen Microsoft slowly making headway with getting games from the Activision Blizzard acquisition into Game Pass. We saw that with Diablo 4. We've seen that now with like the new Call of Duty that's going to be released day and date into Game Pass. We have seen some slow drip feed into that. Now, before we get into that, let's just first start with the one subject that Microsoft was not able to just like, I love the armchair, like, you know how we have like the armchair stock exchange guys or the pocket watchers or whatever, all these guys
or
that
the
really,
coaches, yeah,
the code, like that basically, oh, I could run a business better than you. Well, let's put it this way, from somebody that has witnessed the American criminal justice system, you don't like, you know, that whole guy that like had the graph back in the day, like when you F around, you find out. That's kind of how courts work. And with Microsoft, they knew if they effed around too much with Activision, they would F and find out. And that's where we saw Microsoft kind of even changed a little. Like, a lot of people got upset when the video game awards didn't really show too much. People were like, where's Microsoft at? Well, they're dealing with ABK. And then they found out how serious ABK got real quick, because everybody was like, oh, ABK is signed, sealed, and delivered. And then they went through a year and a half of like, it was like a soap opera watching that whole thing unfold. Now we're getting to the point where the fruits of Microsoft's labor into this whole situation are finally going to come to fruition for us. And now there is some rumors coming around that these games are going to be seen a little bit more into the Game Pass service. And so there was an article pointed out, and that's where so now apparently the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is, so apparently there's a leaker called Extra Ones, and they indicated that Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy would be joining Game Pass in August. And they're also saying that there might be some other stuff coming, now keep in mind, this is all hearsay, people. We don't have anything factual to back this up, but we also might see, I don't know if it's in there or not, but there was like, Tony Hawk game, the Tony Hawk collection, the Spyro trilogy. And that is where we are starting to see more. Yeah. So the report also hints that possible inclusion of Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake and the Spyro Reignited trilogy coming to Game Pass in the near future. But they don't know if it's going to happen in August at the same time as Crash Bandicoot. But now that's where a lot of people are wondering about this slow drip feed effect. Microsoft obviously wants these games to bring people into the service. They're not just going to throw everything. Regretfully, they learned their lesson real quick with the Bethesda titles, where they put a lot of stuff in there very quickly. And I'm going to say right now, gamers can be very voracious, and they will burn through content very quickly. And this has always been a point of discussion with any streaming service or any subscription service in general, is, do we do it like Netflix and give you the whole damn season to rip through, like what happened with me in the Fallout show on Amazon? I stayed up and watched it all in one night. Or like when we get seasons of Stranger Things or other stuff, Amazon just gives you the whole damn season and you can just burn through it very quickly. Or do we do it like Disney Plus, where we dole it out an episode or two at a time? Same with HBO Max. We saw that with The Last of Us show. They doled it out one episode at a time. Does this kind of like the same concept here, where, hey, here's a game or two this month, here's a game or two that month, and it's a strategy to get people to stay invested and subscribe to Game Pass? I know, dude, Mari, I know Game Pass saves consumers a lot of money and how that's a bad thing, but apparently to really show your support of a game console in a plastic box, you got to throw all logic out the window and say, fuck it, I don't need to save money. I would rather give them everything I got. I don't understand it at all. That I mean, it's nice to know that there's games coming out on Game Pass this month, one we're going to talk about here shortly, that for some people, they don't got, like, for some people, they're going to want to get that deluxe version and own that game. Other people, they're going to play it in Game Pass. Like, I loved Lies of P. I didn't buy it. And I'm going to say it right now. That game has not gone on sale. I have told myself maybe one day I probably will pick it up. But at this point, Lies of P is holding its value quite well. And I am very grateful that I was able to play Lies of P in Game Pass. That's for
People
sure.
complaining about Game Pass are just complainers.
Oh, dude, like,
it's so wonderful. It's so great.
Dude, you should hear some of the stuff. Okay, so I know you don't keep up with it, but our common myths and misconceptions about Game Pass are: A, it's welfare for gaming. B, it is Game Pass fodder. It's where shit games go to live. Game Pass is where you can, like, games that are not finished right. I mean, like, there is so much that you like. Game Pass somehow hurts developers when, I'm gonna say it right now, I've only seen like 1, 2, or maybe even 3 developers ever really come out and say something about Game Pass not being everything it really wanted. And it's purely because somebody didn't know how to handle themselves at the negotiating table. And they were like, oh yeah, we would totally put your game in that service for this much money. And then all of a sudden their game turns into like lightning in a bottle. And they had like a lot of success from that game. And people, they basically sold themselves short, and they felt very bitter about it. And that's why I jokingly say, like, well, that's not my damn fault. Freaking, you should have had more faith in your product to, essentially to not sell yourself short. That's how it is. But getting back into it, so the Activision games are coming, but that's where I still have to laugh every time you read one of these articles. People are holding out for Call of Duty games. They want to be able to bring new life into the Call of Duty games that have really fallen by the wayside. And I am one of those that I see the Call of Duty game sales. Let's be upfront about that. I see them go on sale. I've hovered over them going, should I buy one of these games? And then I'm like, they're going to come to Game Pass eventually. I'll wait. But not at any time do I feel slighted that I'm not getting these games in Game Pass. Why? Because I hate to say it this way. If it really mattered to you that damn much, buy the damn game. Because you don't know. That's literally, dude, when you go on the internet and you scream, cry, bitch, moan, all that other fun stuff about wanting to see the old Call of Duty games in Game Pass because you're somehow an investor and you have invested money and time into Game Pass and that they got to give you value for your subscription and blah, blah, blah. You're like that little child in the local Walmart standing in the toy section screaming that mommy and daddy needs to buy them a toy. Like, it is what it is. Microsoft, and I think that there's a lot more that brings us back into the conversation. I think that with how much of a dude, the FTC and the CMA were extremely concerned about how much of an edge Call of Duty gives Xbox with a gaming subscription service, which is why they had to give the Call of Duty games the rights to that crap. They had to like give it to Ubisoft to sell it back to Microsoft and also sell it to whoever wanted Call of Duty games. I really do feel that it's not as cut and dry simple as people want it to be for Call of Duty games to be able to come to Game Pass. And that's where I think people just need to sit back, enjoy all the other content in Game Pass, and just celebrate it when they show up. Or eventually, I think some stuff might come out on why Xbox hasn't done it yet. And I really do feel that there was some legal hurdles. And that's all. We also just found out, like, what was the date on this? It was like June 22nd that Microsoft decided to submit some paper to the Ninth Circuit Court of the Ninth Circuit of the Supreme Court, wanting them to now rule on what the FTC has been trying to do with the Activision deal, because the FTC has not given that up. But apparently, the Supreme Court handed a winning, they handed some kind of a win to Starbucks on labor regulators to meet some kind of 4-factor test in order to win a preliminary injunction. And apparently, by the Ninth Circuit Court awarding this win to Starbucks, essentially Xbox is like, well, you know what happens when the Supreme Court rules on something? It kind of becomes law. And so now it's like this whole thing with Starbucks and gave Microsoft a win over the FTC, and they filed some paperwork to finally say, hey, sign, seal, and deliver, case closed on this. Make the FTC go away. They need to stop filing injunctions because they're not making it easy for them to. I really do feel that the FTC is not making it easy for Microsoft to be able to deliver what the fans are wanting. And I just really don't like the fact that a lot of the fans are wanting to blame the management and have all these outlandish theories when they really cannot wrap their minds around that we live in a very complicated world, and it's not as free of a free capitalistic system as people want it to be, especially with groups like the CMA and the FTC having the final word. Well, go on, Mickey. You give us your opinion.
No, that's
you're ready to fall asleep. Right. You're drooling. You're drooling. You're like,
No, I was going to say that, and I think Microsoft still has hawkeyes on them, even with the Activision.
Oh yeah, they're like, dude, that's the problem.
There's still eyes focused on them, so they kind of have to tiptoe a little bit for right now, anyways. In what they do, because the FTC and all, they can flip a bitch, at the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So Microsoft just kind of has to be careful what they do.
Microsoft has a CMA oversight. I don't want to say it's one person, but there is it's kind of like a watchdog. The CMA wanted some kind of an oversight of how Microsoft is going to handle the Activision games by not creating a monopoly and all this other stuff, or doing anything anti-consumer. And yeah. I know a lot of the point of contention was Call of Duty and some other big titles that Activision makes. And that was just the UK, the UK Consumer Markets Authority, the CMA. Here in the United States, we have the Federal Trade Commission, and that at least here, the FTC can I've seen the FTC do some good. I've also seen the FTC be a little bit outlandish in some of the stuff that they try to do. It's like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's a little bit what the FTC is trying to do. At least here. But, all right. So, speaking of games coming to Game Pass, though, let's have some real fun. Let's get all the way up to my key points here. Yes, I do notes, people. There is a game coming to Game Pass that, in my opinion, is going to be absolute fun. At least for me. So, I was able to play a demo, as we talked about in the beginning of this show, for Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. Holy crap. There is a Steam demo right now. I was able to play probably a half hour, 45 minutes before my computer decided to just fall on its face, and the rest is history. But in what I played, So there is some comparisons to Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Dark Souls. I actually fully agree with that. There, at least for when I went into the demo, you had obviously story difficulty, normal difficulty, and then it gets harder and harder. What's really interesting, at least from the demo, is it's like old school, like like you have flintlock pistols and axes, so you're almost like Revolutionary War, like trench warfare, and you're trying to siege a castle. And as you siege this castle, now that's the only thing, there's also magic. You have the ability to somehow, you're fighting the forces of evil. There's the undead, they're coming back. And that's where you get into your like Dark Souls, or in my opinion, Jedi Fallen Survivor. Jedi Fallen Order Survivor, whatever one you want to call it. And you have a fighting mechanic where you can block, parry, you build up your as you fight the zombies and the other creatures, you build up these combos, and as you build up the combos, you load up your, so the way you get more ammo for your flintlock pistol is you got to get a certain number of combos and you'll earn a bullet. And you could, I think, carry up to, at least when I started, 3 or 4 bullets. The purpose of the flintlock is for the bigger enemies, is it's a stun weapon. Ooh. Yes, you can use it to defeat smaller enemies, but it's more like, do you really want to waste ammo or you know, try to run them around and make it a shooter? Because it's not supposed to happen that way. You're supposed to use your ammo as part of your strategy, so that way you build up your combos on the easier to defeat enemies, and you earn your bullets that way. And then when the bigger enemies get on the scene, you wait for them to do like to make a critical hit. They flash red. As they're flashing red, you'll fire off the flintlock and you'll stun them. And that's when you can start going in with the axe and comboing them down and actually breaking them down very quickly. Keep in mind, this is only the first 30 minutes. Something happens. And basically, as part of the story, something happens that basically is like life defining for your character, and you end up being transported somewhere where you essentially just wake up with like this fox looking over you, and you know, like she jokingly says, "You wouldn't happen to know where I am?" And then the fox talks, and you're like, "Actually, as a matter of fact, I know right where you're at." And it's like, oh my God, a talking animal. And that's when you basically get into the whole story of, you know, that there's gods out there in the world. Some of them are lesser gods. Other ones are higher gods.
Like major gods.
Yeah, okay. Major gods. And the chick from Flintlock is basically in this absolute mindset of revenge, of death to all gods. And that's where the fox is like, well, I don't know where we're going to stand on this, because he's a lesser god, but he starts basically giving her powers where you start getting the ability to double jump. You unlock the ability for the fox to do like almost like a secondary stun for now, because your flintlock won't go through armor. So now you use the abilities that the fox gives you to start burning through armor, so you can weaken enemies down to start controlling the fight. There's traversal stuff. And then as I got to the first save point, where it's like Jedi Survivor or Dark Souls, where you have your bonfire or your meditation point. This one, they're called lodestones. You go into the lodestone, it automatically saves. You don't even need to tell it to save, at least on the computer. And that's when you go into your skill tree and you start, because as you defeat enemies, you get what is known as renown. And if you are defeated, if you die, you lose all the renown that you collected between the lodestone you started at to the lodestone you're trying to get to. you lose all the renown that takes place between those 2 points. But it's also like Dark Souls and Jedi Survivor, where you can go find it, and as long as you don't die again, you can reclaim the renown that you lost.
Okay.
So you're already catching on that where those distinctions and comparisons are being made between Dark Souls and the Jedi games that are coming out right now.
So is the gun to magic to melee, is it pretty fluent as far as
it's a very fluid fighting mechanic.
Okay.
Like you'll be in the middle.
From what I saw, it looked pretty fluent, but obviously I haven't.
You get the lock onto your enemies. You get the lock onto your enemies, but yeah, there's points where it's shoot, swing the axe, chop them down, or chop down a zombie, and you see the bigger guy coming, and you can hurry up and lock onto him and shoot with the gun. That's why they only give you a set number of ammunition in that's why it's not like you could just fire and keep reloading and fire again, keep reloading. You only have like 3 or 4 bullets before you need to start defeating enemies with the axe for you to essentially to essentially earn another bullet in the gun. Now, obviously through the skill tree and from what I've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if later on you're able to have a little bit of a magical essence to the gun, or a bigger loadout where you could hold more ammo, or it's easier to achieve combos or you got to get less, because it's based on how many hits you get in a combo to earn a bullet. And that's where I don't know if there's like a skill that's going to you got to go from like 8 hits to 6 to earn another bullet. And so I'm just saying, from what I played in my 30 minutes, I'm fucking ready to buy this game. Not play it in Game Pass, but I went beyond interested to where do I play it in Game Pass and not waste my money on it, to where now I'm like, I think I'm going to buy this game because it's obviously not a Microsoft Studio game. It will eventually leave Game Pass. But I'm now but this game was good enough and kind of really hit a niche for me, and I was really invested. I wanted to know more about this fox and exactly what he's trying to do and the whole story that is being set up with the main character of this game. And now I'm kind of that 30 minutes, because what sucks is I was recording the gameplay, and even that computer turning off all the gameplay was corrupted. It was trash. But I really want to know more. I want to play more.
I'm definitely interested too, so I'll probably end up purchasing the deluxe or whatever the big edition they have.
Yobi, I see you, and I hope you were listening at the beginning when I said I got a 2080. He brought the 2080 over in a 4090 box, and he wanted me to screw with everybody that new computer hardware, thinking we hooked a 4090 up to a 2700X. Just to be like, oh, so you created a bottleneck for shits and giggles. But no, yeah, it was funny. At first I did get a little Twitter pated when he showed up and he had a box for a 4090, and I'm like, yo, dude, I didn't know we were that cool, man. I haven't even took you out for dinner and a movie yet. What the hell? And he's like, oh, no, don't get excited. He's like, I had a 2080 and I swapped it out for this 4090, and I just put the 2080 in this box. And then he walked through the parking lot in my neighborhood with that 4090 box, and I was just like, you trying to get jumped, man? Because I guess I guess even an empty 4090 box is worth $50, because if you want to resell a card, you want to have the box, and if you don't have the box, there is actually people that sell empty 4090 boxes on eBay, I guess. But
What?
no, I am set. I am set for a couple years, Yobi, for sure. We've upgraded this computer as far as it can go with what's inside it when it comes to a CPU and a GPU. And the only way we'd be able to go any further would be to put a new CPU in it. But the motherboard needs to be upgraded. And at that point, I've already told myself when it comes time, I'm not even gonna at this point upgrade this computer anymore. I'm just gonna start from scratch, and I'm actually gonna build my own damn PC, because that was actually what was fun. Was he stayed up, like he stayed here for 6 hours. We stripped this entire thing down to where the only thing attached to the board was the hard drive that was on it, and he showed me how to do all the pins on the motherboard for the power supply. He removed the CPU off of the board, cleaned it, put new thermal paste on it, put it back on the board. He showed me how to dismantle this entire computer. And so now at this point, I'm ready to tackle the big one of ordering ordering the case I want to use and ordering all the other components. And just essentially building my own PC and having fun with it. But that's years from now. But what do you think about Flintlock? I know, sorry, Mickey, I'm just trying to go with the chat.
No, I was talking too, and I was saying I'm definitely interested. I'll probably end up buying the, like I said, the deluxe or universal edition or whatever they put out.
The deluxe, I think, is only $50. So to me, I'm like, this game seems like it's going to be not this
it looks good and it
undertaking.
looks fun. So I'm definitely interested. So.
Yeah, no. But what for me, I had the good fortune of being able to play the demo, but I know you said you've been reading and watching stuff. What have you been watching?
Well, no, I just watched obviously you watched the 2 minute intro thing for it, and then I'd watched something like it was like, I think it's like a 10 or 20 minutes. It's like just this little thing where they were kind of talking you through it, telling you how to do stuff and how stuff works and things like that. And I just kind of watched that, and I mean, it looks cool. The game itself looks cool. The different weapons you can carry look cool, and it's got customization, which is again something I love. So, and it's got magic with guns and axes. So I'm like, shit, sign me up. I'm good to go. So it looks like a great game, and and I'm hoping, because that's why I was asking you about the gameplay, because if it's got not a good, clean, seamless gameplay, that's going to be a positive too, because sometimes you see a game and it looks like it's going to be seamless, but then when you play it, it's kind of a little bit choppy, or it kind of runs a little different than what you expected, a la Outriders. So
I actually enjoy. I feel like Outriders did fix their gameplay issues, but I
tried playing it again, and it to me it didn't seem any different. So it's a cool game. It just there's just something about.
Oh, did you re-download it and delete it again? Because I remember you said you were trying to re-download it, but you couldn't get.
Yeah, I did re-download it, and I played it a little bit, and to me, I mean, it just didn't seem like there was any difference. So.
What'd you play as?
I don't know. I had I think it was the fire one, the fire guy.
Oh, do you still have it downloaded?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to play with you, because I want to play that game with you, but I'm thinking maybe we'll get you into like Technomancer or something like that.
Well, I've played all the classes.
Oh, really?
So it's the Technomancer is cool. I like the Technomancer, but it's not that. It's like the actual character movement and stuff. It just, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem to me, it's not as clean as, to be honest with you. One of the games that has some of the cleanest movements is fucking Suicide Squad. that game has nice, clean movements, and I love it. But Outriders, I don't know. It's cool. It just, I don't know. It's just something. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But there's something about the movement and stuff. It bothers me.
The funny part is about the movement of Outriders, it reminded me a little bit of Gears of War. That slow tankiness to it. Speaking of that, surprise comment here. Oh shit. Yeah, fuck that. I see. Okay. Yeah, I guess Suicide Squad saw a major sale a few days ago, and they're, I don't know, hopefully, like, Suicide Squad has an amazing gameplay mechanic. I actually thought the story was funny. The in-game content was a little bit to be desired.
Lacking.
Yeah. Let's see if we can fix this, by the way, because we're over here. There we go. So, sorry, people. Yes, it's live gameplay, and I'll hit the pause button because, you know, in my world, anything could happen, like your wife burning a pork chop. Oh, I'm waiting for that glare. Anyway, so
That's funny.
No, but definitely Flintlock is going to be a good game, guys. Don't miss out on that one. There is a lot of great stuff coming to Game Pass. Don't be just a holdout for the Activision titles. There is a lot of good stuff coming to Game Pass, and Flintlock is coming out. I believe it was like July 18th. And I'm excited for it. It's going to be a day one thing for me. And that's because as soon as I played the demo for 30 minutes, like, I feel now that my computer's fixed, I'm ready to, I'm wanting to play the more of the demo again. I might do that just for the sake of capturing gameplay that I lost. And also testing out this new setup. But, for me, it's also that whole like mental argument now. Like I'm now 15 days away from the game being released. I got to finish Gears of War Judgment. And so I know there's just other stuff that I really feel like I should be playing, and that I shouldn't, distract myself until I have access to the full game, because otherwise, I mean, whoop-de-doo, I was able to get 30 minutes in, but what if all they have is like an actual hour of the game and I'm only missing like an extra 30 minutes? Would it be worth it to do that? There's the big dilemma I'm having. But all right. So speaking of all this fun with Game Pass, the highs, the lows, everything from games being delisted to the Activision games finally slowly being drip feeded into the system. We've got Flintlock, an amazing game, getting ready to come out into Game Pass. Game Pass has a lot going for it right now. And we had a little bit of news out of left field. And this is the fun part. Mickey has not suggested a topic until today, everybody. And I was in the middle of a TJ Maxx with my wife when Mickey brought this subject up. I was like, oh my God, he's growing up so fast. He's actually suggesting topics. And I was just like, damn, all right, let's open up the discussion on this, because it is something to talk about. We've had a whole plethora of emotions on this. I'm pretty sure Mickey would probably be excited for the same reason I am, because it just means that now when I get stuck in a hotel room and I want to play some
Mhm.
damn video games. I would be able to do that a lot easier.
That's true.
And no, it does not mean that I am not over here fear mongering like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my plastic box. No. Okay. So let's dive into it, people. We're going to have some fun on this one. Please, dude, I'm serious. The chat's been a little quiet tonight. I'm pretty sure because everybody's mad I missed last week. I'm sorry. Dude, if go on Twitter, I'll swear to God, you'll see it. My computer was in pieces. There was no way to fix it.
Yep, it was. He sent me the picture. He sent me some pictures.
It's documented on Twitter. She also got a good Dustin. She was I've been joking around. Like, I invited some guy into my house for him to spread his thermal paste on my CPU. That's also what I told him. That's what they're like, what did you do last night with my job? And I said that, and they just looked at me funny, like, what the hell did you say? And I'm like, technically what I said actually was a logical statement if you understood what I just said. But all right. Xbox proudly claims no console needed in a new partnership with Amazon, bringing Xbox Game Pass to Fire TV as a low-cost, convenient, and portable option. Xbox has announced a new partnership with Amazon, which will enable Game Pass Ultimate Cloud streaming on Amazon Fire Sticks. This move allows players to enjoy Xbox games on their TV without needing a console. The Xbox app will be available on the 2023 Fire Stick 4K and 4K Max models, which are economically priced at $59.99 and $49.99, and they got to pay respectively, because we all know that different markets have different prices, but these are like your average costs. So Ashley McCosick, corporate vice president of Xbox Experiences and Platforms Engineering, highlighted the benefits of this new compatibility, stating it offers a great, low-cost, convenient, and portable option to enjoy a huge library of games. The new option provides a solid alternative for those that do not own a compatible Samsung Smart TV, but still want to play games on a TV screen without buying an Xbox console. And that goes against what everybody's like, no, they need to buy an Xbox. I would rather have dude, the idea is this is just for Game Pass. This is more like, oh, damn. Dude, there's going to be limitations to it as well. Like, I'm sorry, but I still stand by. Dude, I get pissed off watching, like, the other night, my wife was watching Sweet Tooth on Netflix, and the episode ended, and it switched to the next episode, and it looked like 480i trash. For those that understand pixel resolution, 480i is bad. Like, these people's faces were squares. They had pixelation all over them. And it was all because when it switched episodes, there was obviously some compression issues and bitrate issues. And that it completely, for about a good 5 minutes, took the Netflix servers to chug away and the hamsters turning in the wheels to fix that. So there's going to be limitations on this stick. I don't care what anybody says. And that's where this is more like an hors d'oeuvre, an appetizer to the Xbox ecosystem. This is going to get people to see the value that's here. They're going to see that the Twisted Metal, you mean Sweet Tooth is the clown? Actually, no, there's a show on Netflix called Sweet Tooth. It's a very, very unusual show that has to do with viruses breaking out in the world, children being born as hybrid, half animal stuff. It's so strange, it's interesting. And it's some of the stuff is very comic booky. Like, the main protagonist reminds me of Dr. Robotnik from Sonic. So yeah, it's a show called Sweet Tooth, and they call him Sweet Tooth because the boy is part deer, and he basically lived till he was 10 years old before he ever had his first piece of candy. And ever since he started eating candy, now he is obsessed with it. And so they call him Sweet Tooth as a nickname. So, Yeah, do not pause, man. Life comes. I appreciate that, Yobi. Appreciate you also being here conversating with us. For anybody who doesn't know, Legendary Yobi in the chat, go find him, social media. He also does stuff on YouTube. Awesome guy, really great personality, opinions, and he's a shining example of what the community really should be, because he's very uplifting. He has no problem calling it like how he sees it, but he is not a toxic individual. He's actually very uplifting, and if you follow him
I've seen him.
If you follow him on Twitter, you'll always see posts from him about, just like words of inspiration and just uplifting statements. And he's one of those shining examples of what social media really should be, and not this shit show of just like whining and crying and bitching about everything you can.
Agreed.
Well, but no, we've podcasted together on Four Guys with Quarters. So you definitely have, like I said, I know you appear on Four Guys with Quarters. So that's why I say people need to find you on those podcasts as well, because you definitely do bring a great opinion and mindset to the shows that you do appear on. Yeah, no, dude, Blisky, you're right. Netflix has very garbage compression. People are still using it because like it's almost like out of habit now, like because Netflix was the original. So now it's almost like, oh, I've got Netflix because it's Netflix. But there's definitely some, but that's the hilarious part is I think their compression is a little bit more dynamic or prioritized. So for shows that are extremely popular or have a lot of fanfare behind them, I feel that maybe Netflix actually prioritizes compression and bandwidth for them versus other shows that don't have like all this huge fanfare or popularity behind it, and that they just it's kind of like what Xbox does with their servers, where games that are extremely popular download quickly, and games that are not on that level, even though you have 500 megabits a second going into your house, it only downloads at 200 megabits a second. No, it's not your bandwidth through your house. It's the fact that the Xbox server is essentially throttling because it's reserving some of that bandwidth for stuff that it would rather prioritize. But
I'd say it's closer to 900 megabytes, but okay.
Does anybody else want to whip out the size of their bandwidth over here? You can go to hell, dude.
So I just had to say that because I knew that would be.
You still have the house phone though, right?
No, I think we got rid of that.
Okay. Maybe I'll look into it. I'm over here rocking on 200 megabits a second, but that's the other thing. Why should I? I'm getting ready to move in August.
Yeah.
So that's where I've talked to my wife about doing it and because I'm also one of those that I don't rent my equipment from my ISP provider. I prefer to own my own equipment because I want to go in and do my own port forwarding, and I want to make sure that my modems are set up correctly, because I guess I'm just one of those huge networking nerds that just want to be able to make sure that stuff is set up the way I want it to. Like, I don't want my wife's cell phone to get better bandwidth than my computer, so I like to prioritize devices and stuff like that. And yeah. I'm hoping they do, because Yobi, the funny part is where I'm moving is about a 10-15 minute drive from the microchip plant that they just built here in Phoenix. And I know that the apartment complex I'm moving into has been ramping up and getting things straight. Like, it's like, dude, like, it's insane. Like, you're going to have a house key, but I'm also going to have a key fob. Like, the door is going to know when I'm near it, and it'll literally make it to where I'm able to unlock the door by using a fob. And like, apparently this place is being set up with all this new digital shit that I've never seen in an apartment complex before. And they're doing this all because it's within driving distance of these employees that work at this chip processing plant for semiconductors. And so they're doing all this stuff to kind of like incentivize the employees that are going to be working at that plant to live at these apartment complexes and all these new subdivisions that they're building around it. Today, me and my wife went for a drive, and we actually drove by the semiconductor plant. That place is a monster. That place is a city. We'll just say that. Didn't Amazon have their own cloud streaming service called Luma? I think it was called Luna. And the funny part is, Blisky, I don't really know what's going on with that. I'm pretty sure it's still around. Will it become like Stadia? That's still to be determined. But here's something funny. The main game that's part of Amazon's little gaming division, New World, it's like their MMO called New World, is getting ready to actually be dropped on Xbox. So that's the funny part, is Xbox is putting Game Pass on Amazon stuff, and Amazon is taking a game that they produced with their own money through their own internal studios, and they're putting it on Xbox. So this is becoming a little bit of a two-way street, and I'm actually looking forward to New World because I've been playing ESO since about 2015, and I would say that it would be nice to have a little bit of another MMO that kind of strikes my fancy. I just actually, speaking of MMOs, Mickey, I don't know if you talked to Blue. I just downloaded it. First Descendant. It's a free-to-play game. And
yeah,
I just downloaded it tonight. So I'm gonna say, if you want to download it, I told Blue I would join him. I haven't joined him yet. I started the download and I went and took a nap.
Actually, I will. I'll do that right now. You were really robotic for me there for a while.
Really?
You were sounding really robotic. I don't know if it's just me, but you're good now. You're fine now. So
fucking Decepticons. But nah, dude, tell me like what, because you brought it up. I've been rambling about it. Let's talk about your impressions and thoughts, and like, how much of a success do you think, like, I don't even want to say success, but how much of a good thing do you think that this is going to be for Xbox? Obviously putting Game Pass on, what's it called?
Oh, on Fire?
Yeah.
On the Fire. I mean, it should bring more people in, people that don't want to, that don't want to buy a console. So I think that's good for one. And like you said, if you go out, to a motel or out of town or something, you don't have to bring your Xbox along. You can technically play off the Fire Stick if you have it, or, but I mean, also, like you said, there's probably going to be limitations. But I mean, I think for the most part, you're going to be able to, you'll be able to play. I'd say probably a majority of, of the games on Game Pass. I don't know how it's all gonna, because I don't understand, the whole kit and caboodle. But it's a good idea just from seeing it from the outside. It's just another thing that Microsoft has that puts their foot up, over like Sony. I mean, that's the thing about Microsoft, is they're just progressing, and that's a great thing, because that's going to bring more people in and make more people be able to see what they're presenting and what they're doing. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's positive, and it's a really good idea. So, and if they just keep going, I mean, it's the sky's the limit for them because this is stuff that obviously Sony hasn't stepped out and done as far as I know. So I mean, it's a great idea. I like it.
Oh no, Sony's just getting with the times and putting games on PC. They are far away from letting anybody put their content anywhere else. And not to mention, Sony still hasn't figured out that maybe putting their first party studio content in their subscription services day and date might be a good thing. But no, Sony's games are special and sacred, and they shouldn't do that because they're just devaluing their own brand.
I mean, it's it's whichever.
You're like, okay, whatever you want to believe. But no, I really, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a good thing for Xbox. It's going to break down some barriers. It's going to, like, let's face it. When the pandemic occurred, people bought game consoles because they had all this money and also they had nothing better to do. The economy got, like, let's just face it, a lot of stuff was closed down. People weren't going to
yeah, all you could do was stay at home. I mean, so
that's what I mean. All you could do was stay at home, and people were buying game consoles. Like, retro gaming exploded. Gaming exploded across all markets. And that's where there is a large demographic of people that play video games on their cell phones that have no desire, need, or want to buy a game console. It's expensive.
Sure.
Like, for some people to even say to buy a Series S, which is a $300 box, there is going to be people that balk at that. Like,
well, it's true.
Like, me and you are multi-console owners. I know people right now that own an Xbox Series S that feel like they went out on a limb to buy this $300 box, and that there's no way in hell that they're going to buy another one. So we know that there's also, like, there's going to be other people out there, other consumers, a demographic of consumer that does not want to buy a console. But now you've lowered that barrier of entry to $60. Right. And, like, now you're getting people to where, like, oh, I could try this out. What if by some chance they love the shit out of it and they play on their Fire Stick, but they run into the limitation of latency issues, lag problems. Maybe what if by some chance one of them happens to be really big into watching, is a physical movie kind of person where they really love watching 4K entertainment, and they just know that the game could look better. And now all of a sudden, I think I'm going to invest in a game console. Or I'm really digging these games. I enjoy playing these Xbox games. My buddy at work just bought that Call of Duty game. Or my buddy at work, a game that's going to come out that's not going to be in Game Pass. Like, oh my God, my buddy bought that game. It's not in Game Pass. I guess, firework people, if you heard that one, there has been other popping sounds that have occurred before with a microphone open, but that was a firework. Happy 4th. So that's where,
it'll pique their interest.
Yeah, it'll pique their interests for sure.
Yeah,
and that's where it's going to potentially open up the gates of people wanting to buy a game console and making their console of choice an Xbox. What were you going to say?
No, that's what I said was, it's going to pique their interest. So maybe they'll, if it piques it enough, they'll buy the Xbox,
Let's look at it objectively. I want to have access to this great subscription service that lets me have a large number of games day and date in the service the day they come out for $17 a month, whatever, what have you. And, and you get all the first party studio games. Xbox makes a lot of deals to have other games like Flintlock, Lies of P. There has been a lot of great games that have come out day and date into Game Pass. And that is where I just now wonder, it's like when somebody goes like, all right, I'm in, I'm ready to buy a game console. Well, here comes PlayStation. Well, we've got our God of War and our first person over the shoulder, box pusher, axe thrower, robotic dinosaur hunter, like all the great single player games that they're known for. And it's going to be like, is that stuff in your subscription service? Not really. Well, what do you put in your subscription service? Is there anything day and date? There's some stuff here and there, but we feel our games are special and sacred. And no, you don't get them for $15 a month. You get them for $70 a title. Okay, so box PlayStation, I got to spend more money, and your subscription service is substandard compared to Xbox when it comes to offerings. Or, again, because the whole reason why I played Game Pass on a Fire Stick is because I'm a cheap, frugal individual or very money conscious. And so therefore I like to go where I feel there's more value. The subscription service over on the Xbox side is going to have more value. It's going to continue giving me access to what I already know and love through Game Pass from the Fire Stick to now on the console. And I'm also going to be able to buy other games as long as they show up on that box. And I really do feel if Microsoft could ever find that moment where they can get more people to be invested in the ecosystem, not the console, I said ecosystem, that I really do feel more and more developers and publishers would make sure their content shows up on the ecosystem, and we don't have the bullshit that we get when it comes to like the X-Men Capcom collection, what have you, that happened recently, or Black Myth Wukong, whatever.
Wukong.
Where Sony could come in and be like, how is it that Sony is still able to convince these guys to be like, hey, we'll give you $3 million to make this game exclusive. And they come back with, well, we would make $5 million if we didn't. So do you want to give us $5 million? And when is it going to make it to where the money that PlayStation could offer somebody going exclusive is not worth the value of what they can making that game multi-platform? So for me, stuff like this is really chipping away at all of the narratives that Game Pass is where trash games go. It's gaming welfare. The Xbox has no games. By putting Game Pass into more consumers' hands with a cheaper point of entry is going to continue just chipping away and breaking down all these narratives that circle around Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the night. I want to thank everybody that did come hang out in the chatted with us.
Yes, thank every one of you. Thank you guys. Thank you, Yobi.
Thank you, everybody. Blisky, Maury,
yes,
Yobi, everybody. For any of those that catch us on the replay, please remember that whenever you do watch live, you do exist to us. I watch the chat right here. And we will conversate about anything as long as it's within reason. If we start talking about stuff that might be a little risque, I don't know if we're going to go down that road. Oh my God. But, that being said, man, please like, subscribe. I am not one of those that basically, what we call sub begging. but I will call out strange shit when I see it. And the last show we did 2 weeks ago was the most successful show we got. We had over 300 views very quickly within the first 24 hours. And I don't know what happened, but YouTube decided to nix a lot of views. It was like they reversed the counter. I wish I had screenshots to show you this. Like they reversed it and took away like a large number of views. And then I got clipped like almost 10 subscribers. So the only thing I could find on the internet, it was just like, well, they're cracking down on bots. And I'm like in my head going, I'd like to think I'm a successful individual, but I don't think my channel's that sturdy enough to constitute having bots watching me that religiously. I'm calling some bullshit here.
It's funny.
Oh, Maury, the Netflix. Okay. Like, yeah, Yobi and Maury just both dropped comments. His Netflix movie Welfare. Why can't they keep the same energy for shows and movies? They gotta shut the fuck. Yes, I have never once thought that Netflix's movie or television show Welfare. I know I hate that whole narrative. I never understood the whole idea of like, no, I'm a big man. I can buy my games. Fuck saving money. And like, really? What the hell?
Yeah, you're an idiot.
I'm just like, man, I would do you go to the grocery store? Like, there's a coupon. I don't want your coupon. I'll pay full price.
I want to pay full price.
What?
Idiots.
Oh my God. Anyways, Mari, the Fire Stick is much cheaper compared to consoles, PCs, and high-end mobile phones. So the entry to use and play Xbox games is better on Fire Stick, which could potentially boost Game Pass subs. Exactly. And the whole like, dude, I still stand by my narrative on Game Pass since day one was, I still remember the narrative of the Xbox One generation. Xbox has no games. And then Phil Spencer came out with Game Pass and people still wanted to play that damn narrative. And that's when I was like, you know what? Screw it. F it. They say we have no games. Put every single one of our first party studio games on that service day and date, day one. That way, There you go. Oh, look, we do got games. You're playing them. like Yobi said, STFU. Shut the fuck up. Anyway.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for checking us out. Joining the conversation. We will get back to being here every Wednesday night. We lost last Wednesday because of a computer issue. Everything's dialed in. Like I got to get a hold of a display port cable because right now I'm using an adapter and my color on one of my monitors is all screwed up and I need to fix that. And then after that, we're going to start getting into also making content again. My wife actually got me some equipment for Father's Day and I'm excited to so between the computer, new equipment, I'm excited to start doing content again. And then there's only about another month and a half or so for the Black Curtain Wizard of Oz shenanigans here, where eventually these curtains will come down and there will be a whole room for me to actually kind of like sit in and you guys don't got to think that I'm like in some weird situation. But thank you everybody for coming checking us out. Always remember, play what you want, where you want, no matter what anybody says, just play and do what you want and what you love. And say goodnight to everybody, Mickey.
Peace.
Right. Peace, everybody, and thank you for checking us out, and we will see
you all
next week.
See you next week.